you got to change that shit all the way around. And then she started getting really good, really quick.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Damn. So yeah, so.
How was your show, Judah? Speaking of.
What?
How was your show with the young Oakna?
Oh yeah, it was fine. They both did really well. It was fine. Yeah. I didn't like the crowd that much, but
she was healed by my guy. Like he tells me she owes him because he got her better for your show.
no, she was still kind of sick actually. She had a full box of tissue of Kleenex.
Oh, he claims that he healed.
Yeah, but she did great. Yeah, I mean she clothed it well.
Who you taking, Jesus?
Yeah, healing.
It's food healing. That's a
One of my
big
favorite
word.
Big word.
boyfriends of yours.
Healing is a big word.
It's
One
a
of
big.
my
That's
favorite
prophets
boyfriends
and,
of Marina's.
You know, I got a buddy
He's
who
top
says
two
he
of my
heals
favorite
people, man.
boyfriends.
Okay.
He's top two of his favorite. I know, it's ridiculous.
Favorite one's the goof on.
Food.
Oh God, it's so much.
Yeah,
Is
meal
the body
plans.
healing itself?
Him and the
Yeah,
my favorite
he
is the
says
workout
he's the
kid.
reason.
Oh, the
My
guy
meal
who
plan is the reason I
headstand.
heal.
And then there's MMA.
Okay, all right. That's how.
You ready, Jay?
Yep, I'm rolling.
So today on Friends Like Us, it's a really good one. We have two guys, so it's a heavy flow this month, everyone. Also, my booking this month has been, I get what I get, and it's really good.
Word.
I'll leave it at that, too. But it is a pleasure to have Derek Gaines here and Judah Friedlander. They are new.
Whoa.
Welcome, and always Pat Brown. Pat Brown is like my, well, she doesn't like me to call her. We're like the two aunties of the show, but you hate that.
No,
So I
no,
won't
I
say
never
aunties.
said that.
Oh, I thought you didn't like to be an
Well,
auntie.
y'all my two favorite, one of my two favorite black ladies in the whole city. So
Really?
aunties are always your favorite, right? So that's always a favorite relative. So yeah, I like it.
And I was just saying that you're...
Uncles are the ones you got to be leery of.
Yeah, but aunties are great.
I always say another word for creepy uncle is uncle.
That is
Uncles
funny. You
do-
don't hear about creepy aunts.
It's weird, yeah, because the aunts are the
as
almost
much.
moms, so they cool.
Yeah.
But the uncles is like the almost dads, but they didn't become a dad because they fucked. So you go,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why they clandestine all the time.
But I'm like, I guess I could qualify as a creepy aunt, maybe.
Nah, not you, Marina.
Because I don't have kids, and I fuck.
That's the fun aunt.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the fun aunt.
Pat's like,
Yeah, you're
please
just
don't.
fun.
That's the fun aunt.
Pat doesn't like it when I talk sexual, because she said it sounds very,
No, I don't have a problem. I think you should lean into that. You're a grown ass woman. I was saying you said you fuck, and I'm like, it's no problem with that. Long as you're not fucking your niece or nephew.
Yeah.
Then you're
oh, I
good.
would never do that.
You're good.
Ever.
That's
I
what
do
makes
like-
them creepy.
I do
the-
like
the
young
uncles.
guys. So, that doesn't,
Hey, how
I'm
young
not,
you talking? What is it, 20s? Like,
well, I used to actually. That's over now. I don't do that.
That's
So.
why
that's
Sorry,
why she-
Derek.
That's why you're on the show, Derek.
I'm 35. I'm gonna be 35 this July.
That's
so-
young.
It's young to her.
That's
Okay.
Marina. It sounds like that might be in your age range now. Is what you're.
What, 35?
Yeah.
No, that's too young. That's not.
Oh.
I can't do 30s.
Can't wait to be
anymore.
Trey Cinco. I'm gonna be walking around Trey Cinco. Nigga, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Trey Cinco?
Trey Cinco. I can't wait to.
What's Trey Cinco?
35.
35.
Oh, 30. Oh.
I can't wait.
Woo! I told you there was a lot of pot smoking yesterday, so this is the residuals of that. My eyes are still, I could feel it.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that, like the day after, you're just
Yeah,
still
weed
high?
hangover, yeah. THC hangover. I get them every other day. Today I'm clear, but probably tomorrow I'll
You
probably.
smoke? You seem so
Oh,
clean.
I'm a smoke. I'm a pothead.
Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah, Derek actually helped me to not do what happened to me over the holidays. Remember I told you I threw up
Yeah.
because I had too much weed.
And no food
And
for
no-
the weed to eat off of. That's nuts.
Did
You was
know
probably
that?
having all kinds because your head was
I
all
don't
goofy.
need to know it.
You don't, have you smoked pot on an empty stomach?
I don't smoke like that.
You shouldn't.
I'm one of those like one puff and I'm out.
Oh,
I'm just-
really?
Yeah, I don't
Oh.
smoke like that.
What about you, Judah? Never? Oh.
Nothing.
That's right, boy. That's right, boy. World champ.
You know, athletes, like myself, need to refrain from.
Well, I don't think so because there's a lot of NBA players, a lot of NFL
Oh, I know.
players
Oh, I
that
know.
smoke.
Oh, I know.
And actually trying to get it legal because it has some it has a lot of healing properties.
Yeah. Well, I think it should be legal. I mean, I don't think any of the drugs should be illegal, but I don't do any of them. But I don't think they should be illegal. Yeah.
I definitely feel like it helps my arthritis when I run.
There you go.
I smoke. I haven't run in a while, but when I run, I'm always high.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
You
not
should smoke as you run.
as I run.
Yeah.
Well, that.
The
That
really,
cough is gonna be
really,
contagious.
it really helps
That
the
cough is
arthritis.
gonna be.
I used to be a doctor. I know this.
That cough, right?
That cough will be conflict of interest. You running it.
Yeah, runner's cough. Yeah, the thing is like I do feel like it's much more interesting when I'm high and running. I visually I see things I never seen before
Yeah.
when I'm running and high.
Yeah.
Have you
Sounds
tried it?
safe. Yeah.
No.
Doesn't sound like any problems could happen with that.
Well, I started smoking weed really late, so everything.
How late?
28.
Wow. Sorry to hear that.
Actually, that's a great time to start smoking because I feel like the brain
It's
actually
formed.
is fully formed around 25. So smoking after you're 25 makes sense.
Yeah, man.
So the brain,
Because
no, at 25, that's like an average age for it to
yeah,
be. Oh, I didn't know that.
the human brain.
Oh, I
matures
dated
at
someone
around
whose
25.
brain wasn't formed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you do that.
So fully formed brains from now on for you, Marina.
Yeah, man.
For
'Cause
you.
That's your
When
cutoff
you-
point.
from like age 2 to like 9, that's when your head is. That's when it gets into order. But all the little crinkles and shit, that happens like 25. Like when you figure
That's-
it all out. When your
Derek,
cerebellum lines up with the right and the left and all that horse shit, and you kind of know how to be an adult, so you can make the
Yeah.
choice either to be one or not. Me, I set myself I'm going back to being a kid. So at 28, start smoking weed. I start listening to music different. Everything changed for me. So I start hearing music different. Start eating food different. Start writing jokes a whole lot different. Like, God damn, what did I do from before that? And I was like, shit. It was like a whole new lease on life at 28. So
Wow.
Derek, I'm going to throw this out there. You said the term crinkles and shit.
all the crinkles and shit in your head, like a Sharpay.
I think crinkles and shit should be the name of your next album.
Crinkles and shit.
Derek Gaines.
Yeah.
I think that's. I can see the album cover.
Yeah.
It's like a
All
drawing
the
of a
crinkles
brain,
in your brain
and stuff.
form.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it's great.
Mine's gonna be called Accidentally Brilliant.
There you go. Big up yourself. It's
Thank
a big
you,
up.
thank you, Derek.
It's a
There's
big
two-
up.
There's 2 arms folded.
It's a lot of hubris. It's a lot
I
of
was
hubris.
just thinking, was there any
But it's
other
good.
options on the table? And that was the only one.
I
Not that it's bad. I don't know.
It's a hell of a claim, but it's great.
Thank you, Derek.
I'm with it.
Accidentally.
You just mispronounced that.
Yeah. So maybe
Have someone else say the name.
maybe a title that you can pronounce.
Yeah, gotta have a.
No, but Marina
Water.
does have this thing where you know how to pronounce every word, but for some reason when you get into your announcer mode, whether it's I didn't realize it was on the podcast as well, but like whenever Marina's hosting, I enjoy it so much because Marina gets into this bizarre zone where you're like, okay, there's Marina and then there's announcer Marina where you don't know what she's going to say or how she's going to say it. And I don't think you know either, really.
No.
It's like you lose control.
No,
I think it's amazing.
it's real anxiety over saying the right thing is what it is. So, like when I would announce your.
So you're already doing it now. You're already,
yeah.
You
See?
just went into the zone again.
My brain, it's panic,
Yeah.
and then it's like, get it right, and then I get it wrong. That's what happens. Because I said, when the raindrops unite.
You sound like one of those authors on them channels.
NPR?
NPR. You get in the NPR mode.
A
lot of pregnant pauses.
I think I feel like I should, and that's the problem.
In the
I really
light
should
of
just
comedy,
be
we-
me.
like that.
You
See, in the
know?
light of comedy, Marina Franklin, my curls, it goes slightly to the right.
Yeah, like
Like
sort
that.
of like when I welcome back to Friends Like Us, Marina Franklin here, your regular
Wow.
host. I feel like it should be that way, but okay. Hey guys.
It sounded very good. I mean, it didn't sound like you, but it
Did
sounded
you say
very good.
regular host? Did you say your host?
I
You're
say
the
you're
only-
regular.
You're the only host.
I know.
So she did do it again.
Who's
So
going?
she did mess it up again.
No, I'm just a frequent aunt.
Oh, word.
Oh.
Yeah,
Frequent.
I just drive by,
You frequent
check on
the
the
show.
house
Cool.
a lot.
Oh, okay, cool.
Cause
Well-
this aunt is high a lot.
Word.
So I gotta come by and check on the house.
I like to say you, Derek, I was just saying before we started recording how you're of the group. You're my favorite.
Oh, thank
I
you.
do mean that of your group because
Word.
you're a group of.
Shit on this whole
Who's
group.
in your group?
Yeah.
My whole team. Shout out to the 6'0" clan. Monroe Martin, Dave Temple, Chris Cotton, Minion Hart, Chloe Hilliard, Reggie Conquest. The gang. The guys.
Are
The
all
boys.
those 6 feet? Reggie's not
Well,
6.
Chris. It's originally
is
started
not.
with Chris being the shortest one because me, Dave, and Monroe were all
Chris
over 6 foot.
definitely is not 6.
Yeah, so he was the 6. He was the nothing of the 6 foot.
Oh, got you.
And then it just grew, and then a lot more people joined in. Chloe's 6 foot, Minion was 6'1". You know, so it kind of just became that thing. So we walk in like towers. That was
And
always
I'm
our
like
thing.
5'3", so
Yeah.
when I see you guys, you do all seem like tall.
Dark
But
and
not
cloudy, baby.
intimidating.
Not at all.
Not a bit. You would not cross the street on them.
No.
You
they're
was like,
sweet.
you like, move, punks. and you wait in the middle of that group. You punks.
Excuse me.
Get your
All
ass
right.
out of here. Curly
taller,
head ass,
non-threatening.
smiling Negro. Get your ass out the way.
They are a good group. They're
Yeah,
respectful.
they're just the energy is just a really good energy. That's why you wouldn't cross the street on them.
Yeah, it's good guys. You know, we all came from Philly telling jokes, and we knew that you could become local. You can become a local celebrity in Philly. So we all wanted the big jokes. We all wanted the big mainstream world. So we all moved to New York. Me first, and then everybody else came up.
And you started really young. You were telling me that this weekend.
Yeah, started jokes when I was 19.
Wow.
Got into the game, and I was in jazz college, Judah. I was a drummer.
Jazz
I
college.
went to
Is
jazz
that
college.
real?
I went to jazz college. I went to
Is that
University of
after
Arts in
jazz
Philly.
brunch?
Yeah.
So cool.
So I was playing
You
drums,
went to
carrying
the
on.
university. Da.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's how I learned. I had
So you were a
Spanish teachers.
drummer.
You
Yeah.
went to the school of rim shot.
Yeah, well, actually, not even that. I minored in drum set, and I was majoring in Afro-Cuban rhythm. So I was all about, you know, I was hanging out with the El Salvadorians and the Colombians and the all that.
Nice.
We used to do timbales and I used to play on the street and carry the fuck on and all that. But
That's great.
in piano class, they always told me, "Yo, you funny, man." And I was like, you know, I'd be fucking around because I was always failing piano. So instead of when I was failing, I just tell jokes to keep the teacher from off my back. And then somebody was like, "Yo, you should try this open mic down on 2nd and Front, South Street, Philly. It's the Laugh House. It's where that little dude Kevin Hart from Paper Soldiers at the time. You know, that's where he got his start. You should go check that out." So the day after I turned 19, I waited the whole summer. I audited. I went up there just to see how open mics work. A lot of motherfuckers was bombing. I was like, I can do better than that. So, you know, I wrote a little set. Day after I turned 19, I switched shifts with my boy Greg. I always thank Greg for that because that was the day that my whole life changed. Then I went to the comedy club, got on the first time, bombed like a fuck. But then one girl was like, "Ha ha!" I said, "I'm gonna get 2 of those next week." And I never stopped.
Nice.
And it just because it kind of made sense. So
Yeah.
I
You
was like,
build every week.
So I built pretty much every week. One laugh,
So
two
you're-
laughs,
so you have
bomb. One laugh, two laughs, three. You know.
So you have a lot now.
Yeah, I got a lot of laughs. 20 in total, like 20 good laughs I can
20
get out of
good
people.
laughs.
20 good laughs I can get out of people.
And and I've just been noticing in the past year, you've just been doing so much with acting too.
Yeah, they these agents they always force you to go to LA and learn something else. So I kept.
Did you
going.
learn in LA acting?
I actually, when I dropped out of jazz college, I went to community college to go
Who
take
says
acting
that?
classes. Because it's jazz college. It's so shit. It's corny almost. You go.
No,
where
but
is
it's just
Where,
a
what
funny.
school is it?
University of the Arts in Philly. It was like that. You know, the Miriam Theater, all that right around there. A lot of comics used to do the Miriam back in 03, 04.
I don't know that.
That whole area was an art school. And then when I dropped out of that, and I was starting
Performing arts or
Yeah.
visual arts? too?
Performing and visual. It was all over.
Great.
And there was ballerinas on one side,
Cool.
jazz musicians, anything. So
Nice.
so there was that. And then when I dropped out, I went to community to take up just, you know, acting one, just to get the ins and outs. Because I was like, well, if I do stand-up and I learn this should probably help with the stand-up. So I was
True.
like, that's how I thought about it. I was like, this probably help with the stand-up.
What was the first play? Sorry, that was the stand-up ghost.
Stand-up goes.
So what was the first?
There
Sorry.
are a lot of stand-up ghosts.
Yeah. That was like Todd Lynn's.
Yeah.
Coming.
Oh,
Shout out
wow.
to Todd.
No, that was just
That was a pull. But yeah,
that
shout
was
out.
just me
Hey, rest in peace, Todd.
sloppily. Yes. Yes. Say
Todd
that again.
Lynd.
Sorry, I talked over
That
you.
seems
Rest
like the
in peace,
only
Todd.
ghost that would have knocked something down while you're talking about something positive. So.
Yeah, petty comedian goes.
Yeah.
Fuck your little jazz college. Yeah.
But what was the? Could you remember the first role or part or play
You know,
or scene?
we were just in class working stuff out. I really didn't get acting until I gave up on Viacom. So I used to host this little show on MTV called the Broke Ass Game Show, and that's not really scripted. That was just us doing improv. But then when they dropped the show because Viacom changed their presidents, I was like, I kind of don't like non-scripted anymore because this shit is too flimsy. Mm-hmm. So I was like, let me get big money. So I gotta learn how to, I really gotta learn how to memorize these scripts. So when I was in LA, you audition 20, 30, 40 times.
Can I interject one thing?
Go ahead.
So you're saying that the TV show you started on MTV called the Broke Ass Game Show
Broke Ass Game Show.
didn't pay you well?
It paid me okay, but when they pulled the show,
Yeah.
I was like,
Because with a name like that, you probably shouldn't be expected to be paid that.
it was crazy because it was a really popular
No,
show. We was having fun.
Oh, I know, but I remember the show, and I was happy for you when you got it. That was like one of your first gigs.
That was my
That was
my
your first gig.
Yeah, that was my
well,
first.
Viacom's known for paying horribly
Yeah,
and paying late or
Yeah.
not paying. Yeah,
yeah.
Yep.
that's why I work so much with Viacom because I say such good things about them.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I kind of got into acting through auditioning a lot out in New York and out in LA and New York.
Yeah, and you're good too.
I don't know about good. I mean,
No,
I
I've
just
watched you. I see you're in the Tracy Morgan's
The Last OG.
OG.
Fun
You're
show.
doing your thing.
You know, most actors in LA don't have a jazz college background, and
Yeah,
you bring that. You bring that.
Yeah,
Something
'cause-
that people don't bring.
Speaking of acting, and I know Judah's not well with compliments. Judah, like as far as acting goes, you wouldn't even know that he's in the movie. That's how good he is. He transforms.
Oh yeah, Judah's real good. I thought he was amazing. I'm not,
Look at
not
him.
to jerk you on
Can't
the
really
chain,
handle the compliments.
but you did very well in The Wrestler. That's all I'm saying.
Thanks, man. That was
You did very well in The Wrestler. I was
that
like,
was a
God damn, this is a
good.
movie.
That was a good movie.
It was a good movie. I was
And American
happy
Splendor.
to be a part of that.
And
yeah.
sad movie, because I every time I watch The Wrestler, I always think about the lives of comics.
Yeah. I think a lot of comics. I've heard some comics say
that.
that's the best movie made about comedy.
It is.
Yeah.
Because as tough as comics have it,
Yeah.
wrestlers have it a lot tougher.
Yeah.
You know.
But I
we-
think it's the same. It can be
Yeah.
the same type of thing.
similar
where you,
kind of a thing. You know,
can't,
it's
you can't get out of it.
It's like an independent, kind of art form.
Right.
You know, and with wrestling, it's they physically take a beating and they get paid less,
Mhm.
and there's less outlets on television even
Mhm.
for wrestlers.
Now, yeah, exactly.
I mean, one company pretty much owns everything.
And then life on top of that for him, because Mickey Rourke was going through some shit. That movie, I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's good.
Speaking of these, we were talking about getting paid, and one of the things that struck me this week, and the reason I put the article in was because, not that someone actually took my bid. I don't think they intentionally did that. Well, I'm not really sure actually, but a lot of things happen where we as comedians will do a joke, someone's inspired by it, and then it becomes like a meme on social media. And that happened to me this week where my sister wrote me. She said, did you see this? And it was a meme from like a bit that I had done years ago. Now the idea, I don't think the sentence is not mine. I don't think I own that, but it was interesting that it was shared. I mean, we could talk about that too. Like,
What was it?
I do a joke where I say, if you're in a relationship, and you see me doing air squats and sit-ups, it's over. I'm about to leave your ass, because basically I look good when I'm not with the man. I look fantastic. But when I'm with you, that's just not the time, So, you can laugh, Pat, at any point. Pat likes to analyze my jokes instead of freely laughing. I've noticed this. It's very hard to tell Pat a joke because she's like, let's see where we can make that better. But the thing is someone took that line, and they made it a meme.
Mhm.
Now they've made it like, if you see me working out, then it's over. I'm leaving or whatever. So it was so close to how I actually write. Like, it was so close to the actual way that I put the sentence together. I felt like someone was either inspired or may have been and made it, and it was shared like 1,000 times. And my sister commented on it. She said, my sister wrote that, she did a bit about this, no one said anything.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, have you seen this, Marina? And I immediately was like, my back, I felt, ugh.
But you gotta understand, memes are the new hurdles for us. You almost want to steer clear of writing good one-liners because them shits get mean quick. And plus, nobody claims a meme. It's like,
No, some people do.
well, what with the fuck Jerry guys and all the internet stealers and all the internet
Yeah.
thieves and
But
all
I
them
think
guys.
those thieves need to be fought back because you shouldn't
That's
You
that's
shouldn't-
original
shouldn't-
content.
you shouldn't change your act because of the
Yeah.
thievery that's out there. You
You're
know?
right.
I
Absolutely.
mean, I know what you're saying as far as you're talking about like a survival thing, but on,
Yeah.
on a moral thing of what's right and wrong, it's those people, the thieves, who need to be caught and shamed and you know what? And I've had things stolen so many times, and once in a blue moon, and when I bring it up to the person, whether it's it's often now these days an internet thing, but
Mhm.
it's been I've had it in TV commercials, books, other comics, sitcoms, you know. But I remember recently a guy did one of my jokes. It was the title of my special. You know, America is the greatest country in the United States, and this guy's a YouTube star, and he's a big like Instagram and Twitter following, huge, and I tweeted at him, and then someone on Twitter or Instagram made me aware of it. I tweeted at him, and I think the next day or something, he issued an apology and took it down and said he didn't know. You know, so I was like, oh, there's actually some hope in the world.
Yes.
This is cool because that
Right.
doesn't always happen.
Right.
A lot of times they will just lie, deny, or gaslight or whatever. You know.
But also,
so.
too, something that happens too within the community, and to your point, it might not have been intentional that taken because
Oh yeah.
sometimes a person will hear something, say they hear it from your set, and then they'll repeat it, and that other person thinks, oh, that's funny, but they didn't tell you that they were doing a piece of your set when they repeated this thing. So the other person goes away with, oh, my friend said something funny, let me make a meme out of it, or my friend said something funny,
Yeah.
let me just do something with it, because that happened to me. I was on the receiving end of a guy came up to me, he's like, and I had a joke, and he said, oh, this would be a funnier punchline than the one I had. I was like, oh, okay, let me try it. And so I tried it, and it worked. And so I was doing a joke about like 6 months, and then Thea Vidal came up to me because on the show that she was on, and she's like, that's my joke. And I was like, what joke? I've been doing that. And she said, she told me the joke, and I was like, oh, a friend of mine gave me that punchline. And she was like, I said, I never saw you do that. I said, a friend of mine gave me that. I said, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. And we went off and got high together. But
Word. It ended very well.
But I was so embarrassed. I mean, because I'm literally on her show. She's the headliner.
Oh,
I'm
shit.
literally on her show, and I'm doing one of her jokes. But if a person is, I mean, because people talk all the time, so some things are unintentional.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you know, sometimes it's
I
just
mean, that's why
merely
when I
saying,
bring things up, I don't accuse. I don't start with
yeah.
you stole this from me. You know, you say like, hey, here's a bit I'm doing for this amount of time. I just saw you do it.
Yeah.
Let's discuss this.
Yeah,
But
that's
then-
important because I remember when my sister showed that to me, immediately I was like kind of, was Pat not talking in it right?
It's fine. She's just hitting the table.
I'm just pulling
Stop
away
hitting the
from
table. So the thing is I was immediately angry. That's how I respond to things.
That's right.
I do respond like my sister.
Good
it
old
was funny as
Chicago.
my sister was like,
Anger.
listen, I actually had the idea before you came up with. I was like, listen, wait, stop. Stop, don't call me a hack to my face, Leah.
Yeah,
So
right.
it, you know, so she was like, anyway, I had the same thought. So, you know, but I did stop myself from going like what Judah was saying. I didn't accuse. I just posted the video of my joke on that person's page
Right.
several times, and then and then I sent her a direct message with the video. And since she has pulled, I believe she has pulled it down because my sister was like, I don't see the comment, I don't see my thing, so I think she pulled it down.
Right.
And she actually replied, "You're very funny, and I hope you have a great future." So leave it at there, you know. And then
Yeah.
the good thing that came out of it was I made it a meme on Instagram, and it's got like 900 likes. I've never had that many likes on anything on Instagram. So I was like, there's something good that came out of it. And also I learned something. If you do create a meme of your own, you should put a handle of on it so that it becomes what
No,
Watermarked?
Word.
I was about to say trademarked. Is that the same thing?
No, it's not.
I think they're different things.
It's a-
Trademarked?
Trademark and watermark are two different, but it's okay. But you know, but you putting your
I
flag
started
down
with
either way.
watermark.
You're
Yeah.
putting your
See,
flag
Marina,
down either way, so it's fine.
This all goes back to why you should be dating young men. See, the young men would know the proper ways.
The
to-
lingo, so you
The
can get around this.
lingo of
I
the
think-
internet and of Instagram and.
It's
I
more
think
of
you
that I
should
could
date
get away
some
with it.
old ignorant Negro and y'all could be happy and bliss together.
Oh, that's already happening, Pat. You have no idea. But the campaign Fuck Jerry Instagram, which is something that you started too, right? Judah?
So Meg Wright,
Here it is.
she writes for Vulture, New York Magazine. She covers comedy a lot. So she started doing a campaign on Twitter to try to get people to realize that Fuck Jerry, which is a huge
Is it PR?
Instagram. What's that?
Is it a PR company?
They are now,
Mhm.
yeah. But they initially, I think, started by just stealing other people's jokes
Mhm.
and memes on Instagram and Twitter, and then posting them as their own.
Right.
So they have billions of followers, and actually, Comedy Central apparently was hiring them to do PR for their own shows. And meanwhile, this is a company that steals jokes from comedians.
Right.
So it's
That's
like,
crazy.
how can you, Comedy Central, be hiring a professional joke thief company?
Did they
Yeah.
know?
I
they
don't
make a
know if they
statement?
did, but I think Comedy Central said they're not going to work with them anymore. So anyway, so Meg started this whole thing to expose Fuck Jerry for the professional thieves that they are, not an intentional thieves.
Right.
You know,
They
so
make like 250,000 posts.
yeah,
Um,
using other comics materials
Ain't that
for
crazy?
years.
Yeah.
And so I said to her, you know, I try to be very, you know, as much as I can, you know, socially active, fighting for human rights and everything on Twitter. So this is like you know, this is something within the comedy community, a joke thieving thing. And so I just tweeted at her, since the joke stealing company's name is Fuck Jerry, I was like, you should make the hashtag for this cause you're doing fuck Jerry. So then
Oh,
that,
nice.
and then that kind of took off. Yeah. So.
Wow, the
I don't know.
brilliance of a hashtag. It really is.
But then lots
That's
of
cool.
magazines and internet websites started covering it. They never
Word.
mentioned me, of course. But
They
mentioned-
don't?
No, they mentioned
So
other
they've
people. but
stolen
not me.
also
The
your
unsung
Yes,
hero.
yes, they did.
So,
that.
Judah
Yeah,
Friedlander.
they
and
did
this
that.
is how big they are because they were the ones that were promoting the Fry Festival, and to the degree they were promoting it even when they knew that this festival wasn't going on. They kept promotion and putting. So this is how big they are and how smart and devious they are too. They also produced one of the Fry Festival documentaries on Netflix.
Wow.
So
They
could,
produced that?
the one on Netflix.
Yeah.
So they could, because they were getting a bad name off the other Fry Festival, that people were realizing how terrible they are as a brand, and so to rebrand themselves and make themselves look better, they produced a whole new documentary on Netflix.
Ugh.
To
Oh, I had no idea.
yeah,
that
so
was
they're
them.
behind their, and just watch when they talk about themselves
Yeah.
and their brand, how
That's
well
deep.
we didn't know,
Yeah.
we didn't know this way, and it's totally
Wow.
That's like the
how-
Republican Party now when they say, "Well, we're the party of Lincoln. We're
exactly
we're the anti-racism party." You know,
Man,
we're
Lincoln wasn't even all that not racist. I saw that movie. I saw
right.
that.
It's a deceptive on many levels.
Yeah.
He was doing well given the time.
Yeah, I guess, but he still couldn't shake the hand. He was like, freedom, but I don't come up here and shake my hand, nigga. Like, you're like,
He's
like
no
that.
Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
But
Liam Neeson.
That should be his next role.
by the way, I love that someone, because I was actually not defending Liam's actions, but I was defending the moment that he had, because I felt like the spin of it was so like divisive, more so than Liam Neeson himself. Because I saw a British guy who put my words better in a YouTube. He says, if a guy can't be honest about how awful he was back in the day, and then in the same breath, because the whole thing, the entirety of that interview is he's admitting that it was awful, and he's admitting that he was influenced to be racist, but he realizes it's wrong. He goes, if we can't in an interview do that, then he goes, I feel like the way the media spun it was divisive. And I agree with, actually completely agree with that. Because I think that we can't tell people, oh, you can't even admit now that you used to be.
Yeah, because everybody goes into their own worlds and pretend that, oh, the way they are in 2019 is the way they've always been. And that's, you know, we all are a collective of evolutions of our former selves. And so he, you know, he's a product of a time where, you know, black men and black people in general are the, you know, the poster for what's bad in America, what's not good, and so you know you internalize that. So when it becomes a black man that raped a good friend of yours, it's not just a man that raped a friend. It's not just that person. It is black people.
You know you got to blanket
And he's admitted, he actually
No, what I'm saying,
admitted,
but that's a product of the time. That time.
So that's the thing. That's the only thing that didn't come out of that was like finally someone was actually being honest about having a wrong thought, and then we didn't even accept that. I was like,
and we didn't get exposed. We didn't find out. We didn't discover it on our own. He told us about it. Unlike, you know, the Virginia governor.
Right. He didn't have to say that story.
Yeah, he didn't have to tell that story.
Yeah,
he opened up.
He must have felt compelled, though. That's the thing. I think in the headlines and in trashing him for it is the problem, because that's what we don't want people to be afraid to admit that they once were wrong. It's like you don't want that. You want people in this time of I thought that's what we wanted Kevin Hart to do, and then it was like now someone's doing it, and we're like, no, don't
That's
even
weird.
say it, don't even admit it.
Right.
Oh, you're talking about with
Liam
Lee.
Neeson.
You can't even reconcile now. Like, it's crazy.
Right.
Like, why can't reconciliation work? Because
But I
feed the
think
media.
also people, I think their pushback was also that he told the story without the, I've changed, or maybe it was more implied than anything.
No, he says it, isn't it?
Does he?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the
So,
interview,
I think
he's talking about how that was awful, and that was really wrong. That's the whole interview.
Right.
Oh,
They
really?
only isolate the one part.
On the headlines.
Black
Yes.
bastard.
That's the
Then-
problem.
Then they are totally wrong.
It
Yeah.
comes full
Yeah.
circle.
Well,
that's the thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the
Yeah.
main problems
Yeah,
in media now is that, and this is something I learned, is that often when you're reading stuff online, the person who wrote that article, and this happens in newspapers too, does not write the headline for the article. The editors write the headline. So they try to write something that's just gonna grab you. Like for example, this is in sports. This is just, here's an example of how they mislead. And then you get a national conversation around a false premise of something that never really happened. So there was a headline, this was like a month ago during the Australian Open for tennis. It said, Serena Williams to play Roger Federer. And I was like, oh, that's interesting that, you know, they don't have the men playing women, right? And then after the match was over, it said Federer defeats Serena Williams. So now if you read the article, this was before the Australian Open started. It was I think it was like a one set, and it was a charity match, and it was Roger Federer and a woman playing a mixed doubles match against Serena Williams and another man. And it was totally just for charity. So it wasn't Roger versus Serena. It was Roger and his partner versus Serena and her partner.
Mixed doubles.
And it was just for
wow.
fun and to raise money and for publicity. But the headline is they're playing each other. So if you just read the headline, you're gonna have all this. You're having an argument and discussion about something that never happened.
Never happened.
And that's what happens so much with serious issues.
Right.
You know, so you get the whole country talking about something and no one has the story right, and it's
Right.
it's fucking crazy.
Crazy.
You know?
Yeah, and that's what's creating this.
And that creates so much division. Like, there's already so many real problems, and then you create these things that aren't true, and then you're dividing people in a way that's not even in an honest way.
Yeah,
You know.
because when I got into an argument with someone about Liam Neeson, they were like, "Well, I'm not." Oh, sorry, to the accent.
Wow.
I'm not gonna argue about. I'm not gonna worry about this Liam Neeson. There's bigger. I was like, no, this is a big problem because It's not just Liam Neeson. It's about what the media is doing to society, community. It's creating this fake situation. It's also not allowing us to understand really what happened in that interview.
Yeah.
And now everyone's going, is Liam Neeson racist? He may be, actually, by the way, still.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him.
That's not the issue here. The issue is you are you're making people feel something that's not true.
Yeah.
And you're also dictating. It was good because the guy in the YouTube video was black, saying he should. He said Liam should receive a medal. I was like, okay, you're going a little bit far there, but still. I mean, here's the other thing: is like they just put Joy Behar, on the video in blackface.
I saw that.
Yeah, I saw that too.
She.
And what was the reason behind that shit?
You said they put her in blackface, or she
Well,
put herself in blackface?
I mean the article
Because she did it, right?
is about Joy Behar being in.
I saw that.
I saw it. I saw the picture. She looks good.
She says
She looks good, but she's dead ass wrong, and she's never. And she never admitted, but on the for real, she didn't have to darken her face at all, and she still would have been.
She was light skinned.
She didn't have to darken her face. She put tanning thing on to make herself look darker. She didn't have to do that, and she would have been fine.
Yeah.
Blackface.
I've never seen, because it always happens on Halloween,
Yeah, I don't understand
why.
why.
Or some kind of a show,
How long you been waiting to be black?
Yeah.
Like you just take
But
your
how much
costume
of this
together and
is-
say.
I've never seen a black person, dress up as Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, we don't go
and do
whiteface,
whiteface.
so we do-
Well, the Wayans brothers did, but they was making money.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Oh,
That was
that's
for.
true.
Yeah, but they got a lot of that pushback from that too. But it's not the same
It's never the same.
context because our history is not. There's no white minstrel shows that demean white people,
Yeah.
and also why they were subjugating black people while they were doing it.
Also,
So,
I think a lot of people leave out, the racists who do these things. It's one thing to say something racist, to do something racist, but putting on a whole costume like that and doing blackface, it seems like it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time, a lot of effort.
But it's
So
even
it's like with every stroke they're putting all this makeup on. It's like, are there any thoughts going through their head? It's not like it happens in a second. You know what I mean?
Right.
oh yeah, it's a whole process.
It's like
hours.
It's hours where
of
they're doing
preparation.
this. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah, it's like Eddie Murphy and
It's
Norbit.
almost like
sometimes
it's methodical.
that
But as all the time they put into it, it's still just polishing, red lipstick. Like y'all couldn't get Rick Fox on the case. Like if you gonna be racist, go all the way. Because when I see blackface, I'm like, this is all they got still.
Yeah.
It's like when people say nigga. When white people say nigga, I go, you blew your load, nigga. I know you ain't got nothing left. I know you have nothing left. So I go, this level of ignorance, that's what cracks me up. Because I go, they haven't changed yet. They haven't evolved. So that's why I'm never really like, bro. Because I smoke enough weed where I never care about shit like this. But I go, it is fucked up. But it's just so sophomoric. It's just not even clever.
Yeah, I mean, what the Joy Behar thing is, and they were asking,
But did you hear what
should
she
be
said?
fired?
Yeah, what she said.
What did she say?
No, if you read, because I read the article, and when she talks about it, she said it was like a Halloween party, and she decided to go as a beautiful African woman. And it just...
Yeah, that's not scary. Is that spooky?
Yeah, well, first of all, that's another
That's
thing
about
how
Halloween.
in Halloween it used to be about spooky,
Scary.
scary
Ghouls
stuff,
and shit.
and now it's just like cosplay. It's like dressing up as anything from pop culture.
Yeah. Everything's a joke on Halloween.
But it's like that's like why?
Did she ever? And see, that's the thing is like if Joy Behar, and I don't know if
Like,
she,
what's the
maybe she
reasoning
has,
behind
Yeah,
doing
well, okay.
that?
maybe
What's
she,
the reasoning?
maybe she has had a moment where she said that. Yeah, now I know, and that's wrong.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with the Liam Neeson thing. Is like she could actually. This is a moment for her to go. I thought at the time that was okay. I don't know why. And she could admit to her willful ignorance. That's a good moment for
Right.
America when you have I actually went further.
Reconciliation, yeah.
We are having
But
a
let's-
lot of conversations about race, and I think they are so important because we're forcing people to talk about it, and they really want to push it aside.
Yeah, they do.
But we are forcing them to talk about it because all these issues coming out. These issues that affect. So you having people in policy, making policy now that dressed up in blackface
Back in the 80s.
in the 80s where you are working, you're going to be a doctor. You're going to be a doctor. You're working with people, so you have a mindset. You have a bias already inherent in you, and you're working with black people or people of color, and so that has to affect the outcomes, some outcomes, and especially when black women are 3 times more likely to have higher maternity deaths versus white women. That comes into play. Your doctor's not paying attention to when you have pain. Your doctor's not listening to you when you're saying something's going on with your body.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. And,
Pat Brown.
and let's talk about the history. They rarely talk about the history of blackface, which is really important. I mean, it's Black History
And
Month.
these are things that, in my opinion, should be taught in schools.
Yeah.
You know, you shouldn't have to find this out on your own. You know, or maybe your parents teach you about this stuff. Maybe that they should be taught.
But it's too scary for these little kids. This is some scary shit you trying to teach.
But that's the delusion of America.
But
though.
in Germany, they teach the students. I don't know at what age it starts, but in their public schools, they teach the story of their country's genocidal history
We learned
during
during
World War
that.
II, and they learn that our country, we did terrible things at this. You know, but they teach.
Well, that's the
good
difference
things
between
too.
the power structure.
Right.
When we had allies going into to emancipate Germany, there were all these countries, and then after that they had a what was it? I don't know if it was the United Nations. They had a forum of countries that said, okay, these are things that you need to
What they
implement.
split up in 4 different ways. I
Exactly.
believe,
So there were consequences because they went to war and because of all these atrocities. But when black people came out of slavery, pretty much nothing was done. I mean, nothing.
Yeah.
There were no.
There's still barely anything that's.
There was
been
no rules. We didn't have any power still within
Shit, there was more
the
genocide
government.
after that.
Yeah.
We didn't have any power in government. So the oppressors still made the laws.
Yeah.
So that's why we have
Right.
Confederate monuments and no monuments to the enslaved that built this fucking country.
And you still have white people getting married on plantations.
Crazy.
It's like how.
And my mom
how-
lives on Plantation Lane
Really?
But I mean, there's so
with a white man.
Really?
So that's the
Hey, Mom,
that's the delusion.
you free?
That's the delusion.
Because you know
of America.
our country, and you know these are things I talk about in my act a lot. It's where we have this from the beginning of how we're taught things at school, and it's on the media too. We're always taught of making heroes out of all our founders and stuff like that. But that's not real history. It's
not real history, bro.
propaganda, you know.
Right.
And it's
That's not
okay,
real history.
and it's also okay to teach nuance, you know. Like, okay, maybe some of our first presidents did do some very good things, but they were also slave owners. You know, you can teach both.
Right.
You know, you don't have to be make them all heroes, or
But isn't
or
that-
just teach them. Teach
Like
them.
That's
Lincoln,
that's
you know.
showing humanity though. That is showing them
Right,
humanity.
exactly.
That's who we are as humans. We
Right.
are imperfect beings. I mean,
Yeah.
we have great. You can do some
Great
horrible
ideas.
things. We can do some horrible things, and those same people can do some wonderful things.
Yeah.
That's who we are as people. We are dynamic
Speaking
individuals.
of, Whoopi Goldberg is also on The View. Who remember Ted Danson? Who
She
at her
supported it, didn't
roast,
she?
They
She
did it
is
together,
knew
didn't
about
they?
it.
They
So-
did it together, I think.
She
It was
actually
dating.
said,
That was at a Friars roast.
Yeah,
where
it was
I-
dating.
yeah,
She
Goldberg
okayed it.
seated
Oh.
next to Danson laughed and smiled at the material. Speaking last, she defended her friend.
Yeah.
Let's get these words all out in the open. It took a whole lot of courage to come out in. This is what she's saying to the audience of 3,000 blackface in front of
Courage for a
3,000.
white man to come out in blackface.
This
That took
is-
courage.
Listen, let
That's
me
right.
finish.
Pat Brown,
She
get riled up.
goes, I
No,
don't
just-
care. Let me
I
finish.
remember.
So you can get the full impact of what she said. Yeah, she says, let's get these words all out in the open. It took a whole lot of courage to come out in blackface in front of 3,000 people. I don't care if you didn't like it. I did. Now, this is something she said I want back then. I'm sure now.
And they were dating at the time.
They were dating.
She got a lot of backlash about it then.
Yeah, I
I didn't know
remember.
she said that.
Yeah.
She said that, and that's why a lot of black people don't ride with her. She said that, and she also said that about the director. What was his name? That raped the little girl. got her drunk, and now
Roman Polanski?
Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
So she was like, it should
Or
be
she
up.
defended him,
She
right?
defended
Yeah,
him
yeah,
in the same
yeah.
way. It's like, so, Whoopi is confusing to me. And
Wow.
Yeah, she is.
So
So she
she's
is.
off the mark on something.
She is human. Let me just
Someone
say that.
said if you can't see, Beverly Johnson,
Wow, that's so
black
awesome.
model, Beverly Johnson also defended Danson's perform. If you can't see the humor at a place where there's supposed to be over the line jokes, then there's something really wrong. And the thing is it
I
wasn't
wonder if any of that's
just.
on.
That's
YouTube.
Miss Trinity.
Well, I looked up. It's like Ted Danson is in blackface. He's bombing because it's just not fun. He's saying the N word. He's like throwing in the N word.
And
while
that, you know
he's
why
in
it makes
blackface.
people uncomfortable? Because there's no parody. You know, the lives of black Americans in that country, in our country,
Right.
even back then, I don't. When was it? In the 80s?
Yeah.
So
Still
that
bad.
happened in the 80s. So you're talking about there's no parody. So it's,
Right.
so still you are you know, you're, what is it called? Hitting down.
Yeah,
You
because it's at the Friars, and the audience is probably
It's
99% white.
yeah. So you are you know.
But it's like we said last week. Even Whoopi is talking within the the effects of the patriarchy.
Internalized racism.
Internalized racism.
And power protecting power.
And patriarchy,
You know,
Yeah,
yeah.
and she may have, I don't know, maybe now she has a awakening about it. You know, like even Erykah Badu is getting pulled into this, like, where she's saying things.
She was defending R. Kelly.
She
or
was,
something,
well, she
right?
wasn't defending him. She was
Oh,
saying
okay.
we need to all pray for him, which is different from defending him. I think she was saying we need to have forgiveness, is what I saw. She never.
But you can't forgive anybody that first doesn't ask for forgiveness and does for one
Yeah.
point, and one he doesn't even know he's wrong. So
That's the crazy
how
part.
are you gonna forgive somebody that's still doing
Great point.
They view themselves as the victim.
right?
Yeah.
And he's still perpetrating the same type of abuse on young women. He hasn't stopped. So when do we should forgive him, and he doesn't even realize that he doesn't.
He don't think he's wrong.
Doesn't. No, he doesn't. He hasn't accepted that he's wrong.
Which Erykah Badu brings up another great point on top of that. She says, if my error creates learning, then so be it. Which is,
Yeah,
hey.
well, her era has been created to learn for a while. Because she was the person who condemned young teenage girls for tempting teachers to have sex with them. I was like, wait a minute. She's like, so some of these girls go into a relationship. I mean, go into school with tight dresses on or whatever, and so it's the girls' fault, not the teachers, for like some of these relationships that teachers have with kids. And I was like, are you stupid? Are you going to put that out there? And again, internalized patriarchy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it's these are grown men tasked with the job of educating kids, and the kids are never wrong.
And
They're never in the wrong for being sexually molested and taken advantage of.
And that's why, going back to Liam Neeson, that could have been such a bigger moment for the media than what they did. Because like you said, internalized race, he actually is acknowledging.
Yeah, the media almost always gets things wrong.
Yeah, of course. It's the media.
It's such a
gotta flip it
bigger
up.
moment
Technology.
that it could have been for all these celebrities who are failing in this moment. It could have been,
I mean, look how long it's taken the media, and they still don't even do it for the most part, to say that Trump is a racist. Trump. I mean, how many?
Yeah,
How
I don't
many-
know why they have it?
How much evidence do you need?
Chuck
To
Todd
say
just the
someone's
other day. It
a
was
racist.
somebody called him a racist. Said President, whoever he was interviewing, I
Yeah.
don't remember the person.
Yeah.
Chuck Todd. So you think he's a racist in his heart, motherfucker? He's a racist in his policies.
Yeah.
That's all we fucking care about.
Yeah.
His heart. Nobody knows nobody's heart. What the
Yeah.
fuck are you talking about,
That's right.
dude?
Yeah, so it's like, they're a big problem, because we get so much information from them, but everything you're getting is filtered in ways that
Right.
are not really honest.
Word.
And then they protect the power structure as well.
right.
And that's why I thought it was really important too. Maxine Waters is having I think she went to the media company. I think it was CBS or one of the companies that they showed their new 2020 reporters and journalists that were going to be covering the.
Oh,
the-
right.
the-
It was
the-
like all white people.
I was
or
all
something.
Yeah,
white
yeah,
and
yeah.
mostly all men. It's like
Yeah.
no people of color, and you have all these women that's running. You have all these black people running. You have people of color running,
Yeah.
and you don't think that's filtered through your
Lens. Yeah.
their
Yeah.
They're way
perspective.
behind the country and the
Yeah.
people. You know.
Well, Gucci they need to employ some black employees, because how could they have known or not known? Gucci has released a new turtleneck that is sparking serious controversy. The black turtleneck resembles black. This is like the second time in fashion this has happened.
It's more than that.
This distasteful turtleneck was also released during Black History Month. Gucci has released an apology and pulled the clothing from their websites. And this is their response. They said they are imaginary creatures, not intended to have any reference to the real world, and certainly not blackface. The product group never had the intention of offending anyone, and we abhor all forms of racism and
That's
racist
shallow.
imagery. In this interest, we will withdraw the characters in question from display.
and hire one black person.
Yeah,
Well,
and then T.I. and Soulja Boy's response was, stop buying Gucci for the next 3 months. If you
Done.
I've never bought.
I've never had that. I've never
For the
owned Gucci.
record.
So it's like,
If you've own anything Gucci, do not wear it. Share with your network. Soulja Boy said, until further notice, Gucci, you are canceled. And Spike Lee.
So we're not gonna put them in our rap songs either.
I never wore Gucci, and I've always been
Yeah, I
afraid
didn't
of
either.
like big brand names for this very reason. Actually, I've always felt like they're all very racist. But if I accidentally, the only thing I still wear is New Balance sneakers. But it's like, yeah, I always feel like they don't care about us, but we tend to buy.
Here's
their
another
products.
reason I think their excuse is bullshit. It's
yeah,
because
it's bullshit excuse.
people don't wear a sweater or a turtleneck that goes up
Over the
half
mouth.
over your face, and over the nose. I'm looking at the picture. It actually goes
The
up
model
over
looks
the nose.
ridiculous.
Nobody. That's not how
Yeah.
turtlenecks are worn,
Right.
and that's how they're selling it.
Yeah.
They're not selling it where it's just
No.
here and then you can do this. They're selling it,
As a,
and nobody wears clothes that way.
Well, I thought
it's
all
not-
fashion is
And it's not.
something
Right.
I wouldn't
You know.
wear. I mean, I don't half the stuff they wear. I'm like, who does that?
That's the point.
Yeah,
Don't
I
know
mean,
anything
but
about fashion.
I mean that's probably something that I always think of their arguments too first going in.
Yeah,
'cause
but
I'm like,
they've been calling out fashion houses for the last maybe 10, 15 years because they don't put darker skinned models out. So a fashion house has already been called out because they've been racist. They don't employ.
they've been calling out Tommy Hilfiger for years. They've been calling out
Exactly.
Ralph Lauren
So
for years.
these are just par for the course. This is just symptomatic of
Yeah.
a bigger a system of not hiring black people, not having black people in their circle.
now one of my interns put this in. I didn't think I was gonna get to it, but it's nice to hear first transgender designer shows. This is a positive thing, right?
Okay.
At the New York Fashion Week. New York Fashion Week just debuted their first ever transgender designer showing, they said her brand, I'm sure it's theirs, showing their brand. I'm gonna say there just to be on the safe side. Showing their brand, No Cease So, in New York, in this week. LA-based designer Pierre Davis became the first openly transgender designer to show a collection at Fashion Week. Now, though this is a positive step for representation in the fashion industry, Davis does not want tokenism to dominate their design. I just want to show the work. I'm just humble and happy that I got to Fashion Week.
Right.
Yeah, that's nice. If the clothes are nice, shit, I'd try them on.
Fashion it should be more unisex anyway because we all are just.
Well, Jaden Smith was trying to prove that a couple years ago
Yeah.
by wearing dresses and all that. And he was a boy, but he was on the cover for Burberry or whatever clothing line. Fluidity
But
and all
I
that
just
shit.
think
but-
our spiritually, I mean we're two halves of both genders anyway. That's what makes everybody, you're half your father, half your mother anyway. We all are gender.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool way to
Genderly-
look at it.
It is
Uh-huh.
interesting talking to people about how they, with their nieces, or like I was talking to Rachel Feinstein, her niece doesn't, is very clear on, I don't wear dresses. And I've always been like that too. When I used to hate when my father would force me to wear dresses at dinner and stuff like that. It was one of those things where I was like, just because I'm a girl doesn't mean I have to. Do I have to wear a dress?
That's how my father
Religion
was
too.
And my mother, she wasn't so much about that except when I had to go to church. And so my whole thing, I hated, and it wasn't so much as the dress, it was the shoes. If I could wear tennis shoes with anything, then I'm good with it. But back when I was growing up, you had to wear the shoes to go with the dress. So I hated the shoes.
Oh,
I think one day women's heeled shoes are gonna be looked at as, you know, just
Barbaric.
Yeah, I believe. I hope so.
You know,
I mean, that's for me.
But
though.
because
you look
when
at
you
it,
think
I mean,
about
someday
fashion,
it's gonna
if
be
you
like,
think
what?
about
You know.
fashion is not is what we tied to how each culture associates gender with fashion. Because Saudi Arabia, in our country, we're thinking that all of them just walking around wearing dresses, right?
Right.
A Scottish, when they're wearing a kilt, it's a skirt, and it's very comfortable for them. Because actually, a guy used to when I used to teach kids how to swim at this fitness center that I used to go to. His guy would always come in and wear his kilt, and he looked great because his body was he was in great shape. He had nice legs, and I was like, yeah, boy, you know, he still looks sexy, he still looks masculine, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's how we attach
I've seen
gender
Greer
to.
Barnes in a kilt. Have you seen Greer Barnes?
No.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying,
I
it's
could see him wearing
still
one.
a skirt for. It's still a skirt,
Yeah,
all right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But it has no. It really is only is what we attach to it.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
and we attach gender to things.
If since it is Black History Month, I don't mean to look at you like that, Judah,
That's
but
She purposely looked
Yeah,
straight
she
at
looked
you.
jet
the only,
Yeah.
the only non-black
Right.
person here. She's
Hey, she
purposely
shot you a look,
straight,
bruh.
straight to you.
I do think we should talk about some things that are positive. This is a woman that I didn't put in the articles that I actually, believe it or not, when I was in theater at Syracuse, this was my one-woman show. This was my thesis.
Okay.
I was to pick 2 characters during the Civil War. My professor, speaking of, you know, white professors, my professor, who I still like to this day, but he was wrong. He was telling me to not do anything that was political, which I was like, it's a civil war. What are you talking
That's the
about?
point. Yeah.
And also, you can certainly make the argument everything is political.
Right.
No.
And then he said he told me no abolitionists. Okay. And then
Is the professor white or
yeah,
black?
He was white. Of course he was white.
Yeah, and he took me on a Civil War reenactment, which, you know,
Who won?
well, okay.
Yeah.
It was the Battle of Franklin, so you can look up who won. That'll be your research audience members, who won the Battle of Franklin. But here's the thing.
Your people did.
I didn't pay attention to the Civil War and their colors, so I didn't know while I was going on the trip that my professor was a Confederate reenactor because he was wearing the Confederate colors. I learned it that way. And I was
That's an intensive.
And this is up in
Yeah.
That's a crash course.
This is in the
That's a
north.
crash course.
This is in the north, in
Syracuse,
Syracuse, New York,
Syracuse, and we
which
went
is
to
not
Frank-
southern.
But we
Yeah.
we drove to Franklin, Tennessee, and it was me and the other guy.
So you in the car with the enemy?
And the other guy who was
Your
Jewish.
theater teacher was an alt-right leader.
Yeah, you was about to go to a meeting.
Oh, I had no clue. And those.
Marina, this should be part of one of your next stand-up. I know it was your college
So I
thesis.
went down
but-
there.
Accidentally Confederate. Well, the thing is like the guy in the car with me who's Jewish. I didn't realize he was feeling the pain too until I looked over. He goes, "No, this is painful for me too." Okay, look, I didn't know this was going on either. And then we got there, and
Sounds like a plot for a horror movie.
They do. It sounds like some Get Out 2 shit. Like
No,
you was the lady that had to get out.
we met up with the boys.
Okay,
That's
I don't
how.
like.
That's the term. That's the boys being the other soldiers who were also reenacting the
The good old boys.
Confederate Army.
Okay.
And they were like, "We're gonna get Jefferson Davis on the bill this time." I mean, they were fully in character.
This was your theater teacher?
Yes.
I like
Now-
him to this day, but he was wrong. He was fuck wrong. Like that's different. It's not like he
That's-
brought you down there for bait. Like that's.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
I'm still
Why were
trying-
you-
That's the
why did he
arrogance
bring you
of
there?
white
Ooh,
supremacy.
goddamn.
Well,
That's
here-
the
Why did he
arrogance
bring you
of-
there?
Ooh, oh god,
Okay.
that's some scary
What was
shit.
the point
I'm
of
gonna answer.
bringing
I'm
you
gonna answer your
to
question.
Yeah.
to
You
a
have
Civil War
upset. You have
reenactment?
riled. You have riled Judah, and
Yeah.
he's not black.
I'm gonna answer your question. I'm gonna tell you something. I am still friends with him.
Okay.
Okay. Now, there's the thing. This is something that I even learned as this is who I am. Is I can, and something I don't think young kids will have to deal with what I had to deal with is you used to be able to navigate through a person's ignorance and racism and still.
But maybe
learn.
he's not ignorant.
No, he was
See?
ignorant. He was
No,
ignorant
but
because
nobody-
I think even if he looked back today, he could go, "Yeah, that was."
Well, maybe that's because he
But at the
be
time,
looked down on
it
it
sounded
more today.
methodical.
Here's the thing.
We
Yeah.
went,
just
we went
sound
through
like-
a whole process during the experience where I think and I remember
So
him
what
saying
were
to
you
me,
doing now? What
Will you
were
guys let me answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, because it sounded like
Well, we
he
got a
was-
lot of questions.
You guys,
Maria, it sounded like he was flexing on you
no,
racially.
he
Like
was ignorant.
Sounds
you
like he
need to
brought
know
you-
what the fuck.
Sounds like
this
he
is about.
brought you down there to be a part of this Civil War
Yeah, that's
reenactment.
what I'm
Let
saying.
me explain to you
Go ahead, I'm
that
listening
he was always a hardcore reenactor. And he was the professor of set and design. He was the tech guy. And I remember we did have a moment at the table where we talked and he said, maybe you can tell me why this is troubling. So he learned a lot from that experience. Even the students, I remember the theater students when we came back, they're like, what was Marina going down there as?
Yeah.
You know, all of them. So he learned.
Wait, did all the students go or just you?
So it was 4 of us.
And who were the other students?
The other one was my friend Christina.
What are their races?
And will you let me answer the question?
I'm like, yeah,
This was to
we
be.
need answers.
I need answers. I need
You're
answers.
leaving a lot out of the
Get to
story.
it, woman.
I'm trying to sum it up real fast. Is that we were all playing characters during the final production was called Voices of the Civil War, where each of us were playing different characters. What we didn't know was our professor, who was directing this, was a hardcore reenactor, and that's why he was motivated to do this.
Marina, I'm gonna ask you a question. Did he cast y'all as slaves?
No. So
So what were you
to
doing
get to the
down
point
Yeah.
of what I want to do is what I did. Okay, what I did when I did the reenactment was I chose to use the moment because I was upset by it. I chose to use the moment to feel what it was like to have been a woman at that time who could not speak and could not have a voice. So as a acting exercise, I allowed it to be that. So it was very difficult because I was around very ignorant white people talking as if
Was this a whole weekend?
This was a weekend.
Oh,
a weekend where
goddamn.
they're doing this reenactment
I
all
stayed in a
weekend.
shebang. I wore hoops.
What's
I
a
still have
shebang? I
the
don't know
hoops.
what that is. What is it?
Exactly. See, so this is the thing. This was the great part of it. When you actually live through the experience, you actually learn the specifics of how awful it is. So like I knew, like I had authentic clothes. I lived authentically.
So you were playing a slave.
No,
No,
I
you
was
can't-
not.
So what were you?
Who
playing?
were you?
What were you playing?
I was
A
playing.
Confederate general? What were you playing?
Yeah, I need to know where they had you in this
There's
shit.
some.
I played my character. I chose to play as my characters would have. So this was one of them. So this before we went.
So what was the character?
Yeah, what was the
Will
character?
you let me answer? Before we went, I researched 2 characters, and I decided to take their stories with me. 2 of them. One of them was Elizabeth Heckler. The other one was Susie King Taylor.
Okay.
So Susie King Taylor, just so you know, for Black History Month, she was born on August 6, 1848 to October 6, 1912. She was the first Black Army nurse. She actually worked
For
with
the Union, for the North.
for the North.
Okay.
So she actually worked with Sarah Barton from the Red Cross. Okay. She tended to an all-black Army troop named the 1st South Carolina Volunteers and later redesignated the 33rd United States Colored Infantry Regiment, where her husband served. I don't have my reading glasses. Where her husband served for 4 years during the Civil War. Despite her service, like many African American nurses, she was never paid for her work. And as the author of Remnants of My Life in Camp, which I really recommend you read, with the 33rd United States Colored Troops, she was the only African woman to publish a memoir of her wartime experiences. She was also the first African American to teach openly in a school for former slaves in Georgia. And at this school in Savannah, Georgia, she taught children during the day and adults at night, which was illegal at the time. So this is the character that I studied.
And give me her name again.
Susie King Taylor.
From and where was she? Where did she live? What state?
This was in South Carolina.
South
She
Carolina.
ended up in the.
So you were playing her, kind of?
I actually created a monologue based on her character. It's been a while, but it was my thesis, and it was like a monologue of her speak. So I would speak to the audience as Susie King Taylor. And what I learned when I did the research was that she did not have a lot of times the voice. She had to hide. She had to teach. In secret and it was very scary.
1848 to 1912, that's
so
some
I
scary
used
times.
a lot of that experience while I was at this. The anger that I had, a lot of the why am I here. I used a lot of that in my acting when I played the character. It actually it fed me in a way that, and I have to think she had to navigate during a time with people who were extremely racist and who can kill her. So I had
She had no human rights.
Right. So I had to navigate. I had to think. This is how I'm navigating through this experience as well. So I chose to listen and not talk. And the amount of racist things people would say is amazing when you don't interrupt them. It was incredible. It was a learning experience, and it was.
I still don't fully understand what happened.
Me neither. I really.
So you're embedded with the Confederate troops.
That's what I'm hearing.
You're
with the gray boys.
You're with the
gray hats
You're with
and
the
the buttons. I
Confederate
hate
troops.
niggas.
We drove.
She played a spy.
So you're embedded with the Confederate
Judah,
troops.
speak to him.
And you just sit around and listen to them.
Yeah.
That sounds like you're.
My teacher drove us as students to the Battle of Franklin, which is a reenactment
And you're supposed to just
of the
watch
Civil
them?
War.
You were an audience?
And
or
we
you were participants?
We just watched. So we would
You were an
stay
audience.
on. We stayed on the regiment.
Yeah, please stay on the regiment.
Lived like we lived.
Who were the other students that went
like
with
they
you?
lived? We stayed in a shebang, which is
This
a tent.
Sounds bad, man.
We ate like they ate.
Did the Union soldiers attempt to rescue you?
No, this is not. It was more of like, it wasn't part of the play. We were more of like set up, and then you go and watch the shows. They have their whole acting thing down. So there were actual black students there too, like kind of further off, and they were like, my sneakers dirty. They were so bad because their sneakers were dirty.
Oh yeah.
They were trying to get their sneakers clean, but you're
horrible
not
idea.
supposed to wear.
It just don't sound good.
No.
You were there. You were there. You know why you were there?
I was a student.
That
You know why
shit is
you were
on
there?
No,
everybody.
but that's
You
what
were
I'm saying.
there.
That's where we live. Because
But what your
the power
professor
structure-
did. Oh, God, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
the power structure can make those decisions for black kids that affect us in a way that doesn't affect their white counterparts,
Have
or
you-
maybe it does to the point that later on they grow up and then their friend gets raped and then they blame the whole.
Have you ever heard that
Black
story?
people.
It's all over the internet. It's this cool black kid telling a story about when he was in 3rd grade. They took a trip to a plantation and they tried to play it like it was just a fun day at the pretzel factory. So they had him out there with satchels picking cotton. And when his
All
mom
of them
put
are
it together,
him.
they went to like a plantation site.
Was he
Yeah,
the
but
only,
they have
was he
everybody
the only
that-
black student at the school, or
He was telling the story as if he didn't know what he was getting into, and as it came
Right.
to him,
Yeah.
as an 8-year-old boy, it was
Yeah.
like, this don't feel right. They got us out here picking
Yeah.
cotton.
All the graduate all the arts theater students were so upset when we came back.
Yeah.
They were like, wait a minute,
Yes!
Marina, are you okay?
And that's all. You know what? When you said that about reenactment,
You know why they did that?
you know, when you saying this about reenactment, when I went to Africa, I went to.
I gotta stretch out.
That's fucked up. You don't see how fucked up this is?
But this is all I'm thinking about.
I'm not saying it's not fucked up.
Oh, okay.
I'm
That's all I'm
saying it
thinking
is
about.
fucked up.
When she said reenactment, that's all I'm thinking about is when I went to Africa and I went to the holding cells for the slaves
Ugh.
and what that was like. And then they took us on the ships. They put
What
Put them up.
class? What country this was in?
this is in Ghana.
In
So
Ghana,
this,
okay.
this is how they held the slaves. It was a cement, like almost like a jail cell. It was probably about bigger than 8 by 8, maybe about 10 by 10. Only one window. they put us all in there, and they said they're gonna close the door for a minute. When you in there,
Ugh.
and then so it was this they packed them in because actually to the point that people died, they suffocated in there because they needed to pack as many slaves in there as possible. So they put us in there, probably at 10 of us at a time.
How big was that window?
We're spaced out. That window probably no bigger than a 12 by 12.
Jesus.
You saw very little light. That's the
Probably.
only air source.
Mm-hmm.
Other than what's
And
coming
how
up
many
on
people
that window.
were in there? Probably.
They put us 10 at a time.
Yeah.
The minute the door is closed, you're trying to. It's dark. It's just dark and it's cold and then nobody's touching you. But then the man he's telling the story like the slaves stayed here. They were here for hours, and then you just start crying. You're just crying, and then people. Some people are like, no, let me out of here. Let me out of here. Like, really got
claustro.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's all I can remember. I imagine is
I gotta go there.
if you take these fucking reenactors to that, these motherfuckers. You know what kind of sadistic asshole you would have to be to see the lives that you put millions and millions of black people through.
Yeah.
So you could have what? Power
Well, I
over them.
will say that.
Look what's going on now with the kids being put in cages at the border.
And
Oh,
ice.
yeah.
I mean,
It's
then,
like, we
and
don't
Libya.
even-
How much has changed?
If I could
the
just say
Libyans
this
still
before,
doing
if I could
slavery.
just
That
hold on.
ice is-
Oh,
okay, I'm sorry.
if I could just say this so I make sure that I'm clear for our listeners. I'm not saying I enjoyed that experience.
Oh,
I know you
And
did.
Oh no, I just want to because
Yeah.
like headlines, things.
You
that
were a
get-
victim.
Let me
That's
just
what
say
I-
this.
That's why we upset.
Please don't interrupt me because
Sorry.
it's really important to get
Apologize.
this
Sorry.
out.
Sorry.
Because people extrapolate things and then they run with it in the conversation when we have these conversations. So that's why I want to make sure I'm very clear that I did not enjoy that experience, but being that it was the time and I was and it was my professor and I was in a situation where I had to do this, I chose to make it a moment of learning for myself. That's the thing that black kids always have to go through. Black kids always have to learn how to navigate through these things. And when I look back at that, I'm so glad that the kids today will never have to go through that experience. Now I will say I did learn something from it because I may have had I not had that experience, I may not have known what it was like to not have a voice.
Well, one thing.
That is where I was really in touch with history in a way that was deeper for me, and I wouldn't willingly go through that again, but it gave me that experience that fed my character. So when I did it, you better believe I was the one that shined the most out
Word.
of the voices of the Civil War.
Yeah, but what I was saying is, you definitely were victimized by that. But I think we haven't progressed.
Eric,
We haven't progressed
laughing
that.
at victimization.
We
It's
haven't
how
progressed
she
that.
said it.
We haven't progressed that much more that our kids won't experience that. Our kids
You don't
are.
think so?
No, they're experiencing it now.
Yeah.
They're going through it right now with teachers that say let's reenact slavery, and it's always
Don't
a
you
black
feel like
kid.
it's that we're more aware of it though?
We are more aware of
Yeah.
it, but it's still going on. That's what I'm
Constant
saying.
fight. It's a
There's
constant
no-
fight.
There's no system in place that makes it necessary to teach about Black history. There is. It's still in school books where it's a page maybe in
Right.
some history books. A page of slavery that is lasted for well over 400 years, and it's a page.
I
This
couldn't
is who.
believe
This
all
is
this stuff
fucking your DNA
I found
as
out
our
about
country.
this woman. I was like doing my own research to learn about someone that we should already know about. I had to
Right.
go to the library to find this. I mean, they're in there, and then on top of that, this professor wanted me to learn about the black soldiers who fought for the Confederate Army. Now, I will say this. It is important to know about them, too.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
it was interesting how biased, he was.
Yeah, but those are the same magna Black people. No,
Yeah.
are they the same imagine the black people. They're
Them
always going to be
vanilla
people.
extract
Well,
motherfuckers.
no. The black soldiers who had to fight for the Confederate Army had to fight they were or killed.
Yeah.
There were legitimate reasons why
all bad,
they
man.
weren't Uncle
it's not good.
Toms. They weren't Uncle Toms.
Oh, okay.
No,
So-
I need to correct you on that because it's really,
No, I don't know.
really important
Okay.
to know
I need to read
that
more
the
about it.
reason
Fight for
that
us or
they
die.
did that, was because this is their home, this was their family, fight for us or die. They also didn't know any better. So it wasn't that they were Uncle Toms or anything like that. It was
And
a
they-
lot of reasons for it
Well, that's what Juneteenth
that I learned from reading about it.
Juneteenth is about black people not even knowing that the Emancipation Proclamation happened until 6 months after, because so plantation owners could have told these slaves fight for us because you'll get whatever they promised them or whatever, but not tell them that they're actually fighting against their own freedom.
Yes.
Yeah. So of course, whoever has, power has the power to,
And
corrupt.
I've heard, because I'm not the best, with what I learned in school, but I
Right.
know when they dropped the Emancipation Proclamation, within weeks, they was writing laws to get niggas right back in. They was like, you break any kind of law, you chew gum on the wrong side of the road, you a slave again.
Right.
Like, it was
They're-
like,
they're- they were-
they let us go, but they was kind of like,
They're
It was
called slave codes or black codes.
slave codes, that's what they were.
Yeah.
Slave
Which
codes.
brings us to this movie that I gotta talk about. If Bill Street Could Talk. Have you seen it?
Hated
I
it.
haven't seen it yet.
Hated it.
You hated it. Oh my
Absolutely hated
god, I loved it. I thought it was
Hated
the
it.
most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Hey,
Why
me
did
and
you
my
hate
mom
it?
both went to sleep because the cinematography was great, but it's the same goddamn story. It was the same
I disagree
story.
with that. I'll tell you why.
They set him up. He went to jail. They ended in him in jail.
Don't tell the
Oh.
spoiler.
Well, it's not. The
It's-
movie
it's-
is
You made us read
it's
the
pretty.
article,
It's
so
a pretty
it's
normal
already-
setup of a story. I'm sitting there. The cinematography is
I
great.
thought the point though, and I get what you're
They-
saying.
yeah.
I get what you're saying. That's why I'm gonna say this. That's why I didn't want to watch it because
Yeah.
I was like, I'm so tired of our stories being so sad. However, I forced myself to watch it.
Mhm.
Right? I did watch it in parts now, because it's so heavy.
Mm.
But I felt like it woke me up again. It was one of those things where I was like, you know what? These movies like this are still kind of necessary because I need to feel something, and it made me feel so hard because I was like, this is about how difficult it is for a black couple, black love. This is how difficult it is for black love to just have love,
Mhm.
just to survive. I think what he said was, it's a terrific film as it is sensuous, interweaving stark social realist themes of prejudice, oppression, and imprisonment with poetic evocation of love, loss, and
What was that one?
All right. Because I saw it. The white cop had a
and
problem with
ultimate
the black
legitimacy.
kid.
It's a sense of trembling with promise and expectation, full of cinema's dreamy ability to capture the elusive quintessence of. I don't have my
Hey,
glasses
hey.
on. Of love. Okay.
Bill Street could talk. But did you see the Green Book with Marshall Lee Ali? That was great. That
I've
one.
not seen
See,
that.
but apparently his the
Black
family
Lives
of the
Matter?
guy
Yeah.
hate the movie.
Okay, so now see,
Oh
it's
yeah,
all
that was
messed up.
controversy over the Green Book.
But I enjoyed it
Because
because
it's another one of those these special Negro movies. You know,
But
you
the
ain't
have-
happy
the
ending,
white
he didn't
savior
die. I was,
movie.
huh.
Well, also you can only see our humanity if we're really good singers or we're really good
piano players.
piano players.
Yeah.
See me because I am just a person.
That's what if Bill Street could talk.
I saw it and I'm.
That's
Did
right,
you-
right.
did you-
It wasn't
did you
even.
not enjoy it?
I thought it was a pretty movie.
It was a pretty movie. It was pretty.
I thought it was.
Aw,
I
guys.
thought they could lighten it up in places not light. I mean,
It was good to watch. It was nice.
See,
to
I gotta see it. I haven't seen it.
Cinematically, I thought
Cin-
it was too dark though. I mean, filmed too darkly.
Oh, for you.
Yeah, but I thought it was slow as shit.
Slow as fuck.
I saw it on Christmas, and I was like, I don't know why I
You
was
guys, I
watch
supposed
these.
to say watch it.
I don't know why I watch these damn
Guys,
deep ass movies
Not
on
a-
Christmas, but.
not a good career move to be shit on this movie.
And I wanted that movie to be so good. I
I
wanted to like it because I like
loved it.
Moonlight. And I didn't.
Okay, that's
So
all right.
Moonlight you liked a lot.
I did like
But
Moonlight.
not this.
Moonlight was good.
Well, that's the thing is we have enough movies now. We can have. I mean,
You can make
Don't
mistakes.
say that. Don't say
don't
enough.
have these conversations.
We have more movies. Not say enough. Don't say enough. White people hear
I
you
said
say enough.
more.
No, you said enough.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Watch when you hear it
Did I
back.
say enough?
You said enough, but then you flipped it real quick and said we have more movies.
We
It's
have
fine.
more movies where we can actually have these conversations.
We can make mistakes.
Yeah.
But
I-
the thing is I really love this guy. I think he's on. I mean, I like the way he captured love. That was the thing that, for me, was the most powerful thing about that movie. Was that I don't see enough like real love, black
There was
love.
some good parts in there, though.
I thought this was a really good. There was I just wanted to, as I watched it, I wanted to take care of black love when I watched it, and it was very honest and beautiful. And I don't think people.
There's
There's
just
this.
where you are right now with Black Love. That's why you really needed that movie right
He's
now.
checking.
That's
It
the
says
journey you are with Black Love. After you got rid of your slave,
several line of white guys.
your white reenactment.
Look, it says
You have to
can
go back to
cite
that
the
story.
phrase.
There's still a lot of things you left out of that story.
About which one?
How does your white professor pitch you? Hey, I'm going down to the deep south
The Deep South.
to do a Civil
I
War
didn't
reenactment.
this is how
Me and my Confederate Army want to bring you with us.
I didn't.
How does he pitch that?
Come
I
meet
didn't-
the boys.
I didn't
Where
pick
did-
up all
Where
that.
did you stay when you were down there? You
This
were there
is-
for a whole weekend. Where did you sleep at night?
I told you. Well, see, this is the thing. I did not, and I'm looking back at my ignorance.
I think you've blocked out a lot of the memories.
I think you have to,
No, you guys never let me finish.
to protect yourself.
You're
I'm
never
saying
starting.
You always interrupt me as soon as
I'm
I
holding
answer.
myself. I'm laughing so hard.
It's-
This shit is so fucking
Listen,
great.
I didn't know. I wasn't paying attention. I was a young kid. You know, you sometimes in school you're just like, okay, I'm in acting school. I'm playing a part. I thought it was all about theater.
Just
When
tell us
he
what
said
happened.
reenactment, I thought.
Jesus.
By the way,
Christ.
I didn't know he was a Civil War Confederate.
It doesn't matter.
reenactor.
I just want to know what happened. I want
I
details
told
of
you,
what
we
happened.
went-
Y'all drove.
Where did you
No.
sleep? Where did you sleep?
I told you in the
You didn't-
shebang.
Who else was in there?
You didn't have your iron in his braids?
Christina, my friend Christina. She
And-
was a white Confederate
Oh.
girl soldier,
Oh,
and we shared a tent together. I was not a
You
slave.
should have slit her throat.
I'm saying
At night.
something just
At
like
night.
She
At
was my
night.
friend.
Yeah,
reenact that,
And
bitch.
then ran out.
Yeah, you
then
should have
ran
killed
off.
all of them at night. and then you should have run off with the Union
Slit
soldiers
off,
and
slit her
game
throat,
of
ran
that.
off. And right cracker in her blood.
We had to pee. You know, in order to pee, it was very difficult.
So where did you pee?
Well, we had
No,
to.
in the blacks
Can I
only.
answer? Are you gonna
In
answer
the
it?
blacks only.
No. I got up. I had my hoop skirt. I had to walk to the tent where there was hay, and I had a beeswax candle.
Oh,
And you know what? It's very difficult to pee.
Oh,
See,
no.
the parts of the story
1863.
that you think are interesting
no,
are
Marina,
not
no.
interesting.
Marina, no. This is
No,
bad,
those
baby.
are not the parts that are interesting.
What, the fact that I
Marina.
had to pee?
This is
No,
bad,
no,
baby. In
no.
the dark with a beeswax candle. You had to piss in the dark with a candle.
Yeah.
Oh,
And you know
Marina.
what? You can catch
That's
on
not
fire.
that's not the most important parts of this
That's not
story.
even.
You can catch on fire very
Oh,
easily
shit.
with a hoop skirt. Just
Oh,
so you
no.
know.
You can get killed at night sleeping in a tent very easily too.
They got mobs out here looking for runaways. I know you ain't a slave,
I
but
wanted
you
to talk
black.
more about Barry Jenkins. But
Yeah,
since you
I'm
guys
sure you
didn't
do.
like his movie, I was like, he agrees. I like what he says here, though. He says,
You realize
You-
you're,
Pat Brown, you're a
you
god.
realize you're switching the subject again, Marina.
I
Oh,
have
God.
to.
I
Oh,
think
my
this
chest.
professor brought you down there because these racist Confederate reenactor guys are like, we should have